definitely not the starters. You're on the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Hey, what's happening? Happy Monday. Good morning and welcome on to the End of the Bench on 100.7 The Score, 107thescore.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app. Brought to you as always by Happy State Bank. Alongside Geoff Haxton, I'm Chois Woodman. We got Lucas White across the way taking care of us. You can also join us. You got any thoughts, comments, questions, hopes, dreams, allegations, accusations, whatever you want to bring in, we welcome it on the Yates Flooring Center chat line as we are with you for the next 3 hours. Got a lot to get into over the next 3 hours, as well as we'll talk Texas Tech football getting their first win over a ranked opponent in the Joey McGuire era. That happened on Saturday. The Texas Tech basketball team 2-0. Neither game pretty, but both game wins. Don't apologize for those. Cowboys kicked the snot out of the Giants again, just like the first week of the season. Lot of
had
other
1 million yards.
Do what?
Had 1 million yards.
Yeah, goodness gracious, what an offensive
This is the
output.
most the Giants had ever given up.
That's crazy. I think they were 12 shy of the Cowboys' record in a game too. Unreal.
Yeah, I saw the graphic flashed up there. I was keeping track of it, but it's just kind of like this is a beat down, and you don't really pay that much attention to it. And they flashed up 566 in the yards. Yeah. And I think the Giants had about 150 or something like that. And I was like, good. Yeah. That's a lot of yards.
Was a pretty crazy one there in Dallas, Arlington, pardon me. To that, Jimbo Fisher got fired. That's big news in the sports
Zach Arnett
world.
got fired.
Who did what? Who?
Mississippi State coach.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
So that's what I was talking about.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about getting to see the last ever game coached.
No,
Jimbo coached.
It doubled down.
I didn't even see that.
I mean,
wow.
Jimbo was yesterday.
Yeah.
And Arnett was this morning. So Lucas watched the game, the tombstone game for both of those guys.
That's crazy. So how long has he been there? 2 years?
Not even
10 games.
10 games?
10 games.
11 months.
Yeah.
So he coached the end of last year, and wow.
Yeah.
So because he took Leach's spot. Whoa. That's crazy. So
this is a pretty funny tweet here from Rod Gilmore. So 37 minutes ago, man, I do a game and both coaches get fired. And then he says, I don't think the staffs at Florida International in Arkansas will be happy to see our crew this week.
Probably not. That's funny. That is, ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that could happen. No, I actually saw the Jimbo news on yesterday morning, and I had to go back and look at the final score again because of the game. Because I'm like, did I read that backwards? Did Mississippi State win by 40 points? Nope, it was the right way, but Jimbo got fired anyway, and they have to have their guy, right? They've already got to have who they're locked in on if they're making that firing right then after a 40-point win. I think they know who they're going after and feel pretty confident they get them. Anyway, a crazy weekend again in the Big 12 with a lot of shakeup. So there's that. We might be on our way to the Texas OU Big 12 championship game again. Thanks, OSU. And
well, at least I talked you into getting the right pick.
Well, I did finish on UCF.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, it wasn't you that talked me into it. It was the listeners.
But I guilted you hard.
Yeah,
you weren't
all of
listening
y'all,
to me, but you
everybody.
listened to the list to the textures.
I'm used to you guilting me, but then the chat line poured it on. So Oh my gosh, what a crazy weekend again in the Big 12 Conference with a lot of shakeups. So it's a.
Do you think it's going to be OU and Texas again?
Well, there's a weird tiebreaker involved.
Yeah.
A tiebreak scenario that apparently I read about this weekend. I'm sure you probably saw the same thing. Did you?
I have not dived into this.
Okay.
No, not with playing yesterday.
So OSU owns the tiebreak on OU, obviously. However, if you get into some three-way tie scenarios, the Big 12 punts the head-to-heads and goes with like a different scenario. I don't know. There's an article about it. I think it may be The Athletic. I'm not sure. It's the Big 12 in their writing of the tiebreakers. If you get into three-way ties, it's if teams haven't played another team, there's where it is. But if not everybody has played the same schedule, same teams, then you get into tiebreak scenarios where the head-to-heads aren't the end-all be-all like a normal tiebreak. So, so OU could find their way in via that, or Iowa State also. If they beat Texas,
they also have K-State waiting.
They can jump. Yeah, they'd have to win 2 games that are improbable at this point, but. Who knows? Hey, I mean, I'm just happy that Texas Tech is 1 game out from bowl eligibility. I will say the 2 games remaining on the schedule have shifted a little bit. One with UCF where you thought, okay, that should be. That's a not quite chalk it up, but absolutely should be a win. Now you're was it 3.5-point favorite to open?
Yeah.
Against the Citronauts, which is I'm not a fan of that whole thing, but keep your team colors. But the Texas game also may not be as difficult as Jonathan Brooks announced that he's got a torn ACL. So they lose their Doak Walker caliber running back. It's not like
Texas. How about that game?
Yeah.
How crazy that
3-point game, yeah. And that result, too. It's like, well, okay.
Well, it's like,
I
think everybody turned it off. Was it 27-6?
I didn't watch. I watched early, but then they're up big. I'm like, I'm not going to go sit through Texas winning.
Like the last thing I remember from that game was Brooks, tucking it inside the pylon on that nice run around the left side. And then it's like, okay, lights out in Fort Worth. And then, jeez, it got a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting Saturday. It's interesting on the time, 4:00.
Yeah, very strange game.
Weird.
Get the crap of FS2 and
that's the worst.
Like I'm curious because we don't ever get numbers for ESPN Plus. Is ESPN Plus better than FS2?
I would have to think so because
you see the numbers for FS2.
How about this? FS2 is not packaged with Disney.
Yeah.
ESPN Plus and Hulu and Disney come together.
I wish we would get those numbers on the ESPN Plus when they do TV ratings, but they don't provide those. We will talk Tech football. I ain't apologizing for nothing. You win 16-13. It's ugly.
Yeah,
you get a ranked win.
I'll give you my thoughts on that too. Why you shouldn't apologize for nothing.
It's the end of the bench. Got headlines next on 100.7 The Score.
Definitely not the starters. You're on the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
We got a few headlines for you. Actually, quite a few. It's the End of the Bench on 100.7 The Score and 107thescore.com. Chois, Woodman, Geoff, Haxton, Lucas White joining you from the First United Bank studio this morning. You got the End of the Bench till nooner. And we'll start you off with the headlines of... Let's go with the Dallas Cowboys to begin things, as Dallas has a monster game against the Giants. 49-17, Dallas defeats New York, and it didn't seem to be that close. No joke there. The Cowboys come away with the victory over New York and set some records in the process. As Hax mentioned earlier, it was the most yardage that the Giants have ever given up in a game. Dak Prescott becomes the first player in Cowboys history with 10 games of 400-plus passing yards. Now, that's more of a sign of the times, but still, he goes for 26 of 35, 404 yards, 4 touchdowns, did throw 1 pick in the game. Cowboys also rushed 33 times for 168 yards. Pretty massive game for Dallas in that contest. And C.D. Lamb, Cedarian Lamb, had a pretty good game, along with Brandon Cooks. 11 catches, 151, a touchdown for Lamb. He also had a rushing touchdown in the game. Brandon Cooks, 9 catches, 173, and a touchdown. Some big numbers for Dallas as they win 49-17. Cowboys 6-3 right now, 2 games back of the Eagles, and they do what we say they do, which is beat up on bad football teams, mediocre to bad football teams. The Giants, they might be, as currently constructed, the worst team in football right now. I mean, as with quarterback situation, with other injuries, that's a very beat-up team, and they just couldn't run with Saquon Barkley yesterday either. 13 carries, 66 yards. Broke a couple, but overall just never got the running game going. That was a Cowboys team that went for the throat yesterday, and it wasn't pretty. Also winning, wow, how about these Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud? They go on the road and beat Joe Burrow and the Bengals in Cincinnati 30-27. Stroud goes 23 of 39, 356 yards, threw a touchdown and a pick, but pretty impressive day for Stroud. And how about all the Cowboys leftovers having good games lately for the Texans? Noah Brown, Cowboys receiver last year, 7 catches, 172. Dalton Schultz next on that list, 4 for 71. So Cowboys and Texans playing some pretty good football as of right now. Chiefs had the weekend off. In the association, Heat beat the Spurs 118-113. Mavs over the Pelicans 136-124, and a surprising win for the Rockets as they're off to a good start, 107-104, beating the world champion Denver Nuggets last night. All 3 teams off tonight. Stars also beat the Wild 8-3 last night. Stars are now 10-3-1 on the season, so they're off to a great start to the season. You can catch High School Fan Zone tonight if you are so interested. Right here on 100.7 The Score. Coaches from Coronado and Estacado will come into the First United Bank studio and talk about their team. Estacado still alive in the postseason as it sits now. On Double T 97.3, you can catch the Cowboys Hour as they'll talk about a victory Monday. Follow that with the Broncos at Bills this evening at 7 on Double T 97.3. And, of course, Lady Raider basketball, as the Lady Raider team will be in action, their 3rd game of the season.
I told Chuck I had no idea they were playing tonight.
Really?
As plugged in as I am and as much as I do with that Red Raider Daily Update.
For real? You didn't?
I had no idea they played
when
today.
You walked in today?
Yeah.
You had
Well, no, when I was driving up, I heard
the Sports Center.
No, I heard Chuck talking about it on the morning drive. I was like, oh, okay.
Hey there. Hey there, Lady Raiders.
Oh, it just got by me.
Well, I mean, you've got this. You get pretty consistent with when you play games down the road. But
this Sunday thing was a weird deal.
Yeah,
I mean it's the only Sunday game on
and then we have a
the
Thursday
schedule.
one this week, which is very odd for the men. I mean, normally the men play Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, mostly Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Saturday, and it stays consistent. The Lady Raiders will usually have about usually a Wednesday game and then a Sunday or a Saturday game. They're used to that, but not a Monday game and not a Tuesday game like last week. So these are very strange starts to the season and, shifting things around a little bit, but it'll get normal pretty soon after the Bahamas, which is very close.
I know.
You got your Bermuda shorts and your flower shirt. No. That's a Hawaiian shirt, but
no.
Tropical. You haven't got any of that?
No.
You been working on your spray
No.
tan? Man.
Leave a week from
You better
today.
get prepped, man. Yeah, I know. You leave a week from today.
Mm-hmm.
A week from today?
Yeah.
You do any shows with me from there? I'm asking you like on the fly. I don't even know.
We have to check technology first.
Technology.
Yeah.
It's a very important part to being able to do things. Yeah. So, wow, that is quick.
Mm-hmm.
Week from today. Because, I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's Thanksgiving week next week. It's upon us. And then you, what, games start on Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday
Yep.
there. Get to watch Red Raider basketball all through Thanksgiving break. That's great. Loving that.
Pretty
Of course,
sweet. Pretty
Red
sweet.
Raider basketball in action yesterday. They won 56-42 over San Jose State, used an 18-2 run at the end of the game to get the win, which was very important.
Well, San Jose State led for about 8 more seconds. It was like 18-32
Yeah. That was
to 18-24.
a dogfight. Neither team could hit shots, but you found a way to go on a run at the end and win. And that, again, people don't really want to hear this. That's a good basketball team. It is a good basketball team that won 20-plus games, returned a lot from last year, and will –
Tim Miles can coach.
And Tim Miles, I mean, he's coached in, 800-something games. They will vie for a NCAA tournament spot this year. But, yeah, that is the example that's a perfect example of what I was talking about last week. And
Nobody wanted to listen to you.
Well, I mean, you've got teams that, again, the name brand may not be that exciting, but that are picked towards the top of the conference and that are going to give you challenges in this preseason or this non-conference schedule. So, San Jose State, you survived it. Again, don't apologize at all. You're still figuring things out with this team and figuring out rotations and who does what and rolls on teams. But you got to win 56-42. So the Red Raiders 2-0. They will play Thursday night against A&amp Corpus Christi, and then it's off to the Bahamas after that. You too can join us. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. Okay, so I've seen, and this is where social media is poisonous, and you should probably stay away from social media, but it did irk me seeing Red Raider fans that are getting upset over beating Kansas. And I get that we're having to adjust to Kansas being a good football team, but that was a good football team that you beat. They were 7-2 coming in. They were ranked number 19 or 16 in the college football playoff rankings.
Well, let me just give you a little bit of background before we go even further. 3 weeks ago, they beat Oklahoma on that field. Mm-hmm. And so somebody might say, OU's good. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, they're good. They're not world beater great, playoff winning great, but they're good. And they have the ability to score, and they got some pieces there. And as you saw them dismantle West Virginia at home on Saturday. And then, if you want to say, that's not impressive, well, how about going on the road to beat Iowa State, who went to BYU and had that game done before the first quarter ended? That team can play.
Yeah, that was a good football team you beat.
So now you get down to the third-string quarterback who's a walk-on. I mean, does that sound familiar to you at all?
Unfortunately, yes. Very familiar.
So you've taken your lumps in that area. If that happens to the other squad, you say, that's unfortunate, Jason Bean, sorry. But we're going to come up here and take advantage of this. It's like golf. Golf is so hard. If you get a good break, you celebrate the fact you got a good break.
Catch a lucky bounce? Yeah. You don't apologize
Yeah,
for
you
it.
don't apologize for it at all.
You finally got a win against a ranked team on the road.
Think how many
Celebrate
bad
it.
breaks you've had over the years. Celebrate it.
Playing time is not required. This is the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Back here for hour number 2. It's the End of the Bench on 100.7 The Score, 107thescore.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app. Brought to you as always by Happy State Bank. Alongside Geoff Haxton, I'm Chois Woodman. Lucas White across the way handling us. Y'all can keep hitting us up. Thoughts, comments, questions, whatever you got, bring them in on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Lucas, you might need the highs and lows no sounder for this because someone says, did y'all notice how deflated the announcers sounded when we hit the game-winning field goal? If not, go back and watch. It was like that all game. And then someone responded and said, sure one of them said, No! Leading up to that game winner. Well done, texters. Thank you, Lucas. Was it bad on the TV or?
I didn't pay a ton of attention to him, to be honest. But I did hear the analyst saying that basically Barron's arm is gone. His arm is done. He can't throw it. Which begs the question, what the hell happened on the last drive then?
So I do wonder if it was adrenaline on the last drive because I do think there were throws he passed up on in the game.
He's been doing it all year. He's hurt.
But not the last couple of games. He looked more healthy the last couple. I think he said in post-game interview that he was at 60%. Before a couple of weeks ago, he said like 75%. So,
man, arm pain when you got to use your arm. I mean, I remember having that arm pain and having my shoulder, my arm falling off trying to play baseball. It is a horrible feeling. And I can imagine that it's only, doubled when you're a quarterback and you see a guy running that you normally could, even like in your high school days, you could flip it down there and make a 30, 40-yard pass, and now you're putting it in your hip pocket because you can't throw it. Yep. That's got to be a terrible feeling. And then
this apparently is an injury that is you can't injure more. From what I've been told, you can't really injure this more, but it's pain management. So if it's about how painful it is and how much you can sling it through that pain. So
something tells me he gritted his teeth and did it in that last drive.
Exactly. That's what I think. It's like, hey, we got to do this. So you nut it up through it and win all the way down. 3 big passes and two of the best catches, or probably the best catch we've seen out of Bradley all year, minus the one in the end zone. But
do you think that was a design back shoulder?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Now, I think Bradley probably was supposed to go out of bounds pretty quick off of it. Well, you didn't use that last time out, but
can we just all pause and talk about the shirt that Maris has on? Maris, stand up.
I can't see him. Country Club. Where did you get that shirt?
So when he came back to town and was playing Texas Tech, I had a bunch of them made for all of my family, and so there was like 8 or 9 of us with it. Yeah.
There's a Country Club Chris with him on the floor doing the timeout signal. That's pretty grand. I do like that.
Quiz, what game?
Oh, man. Oklahoma. I can't remember. We lost. No, we didn't lose it, did we?
Oh, yeah. Maris, would you like to give me the answer?
2 losses that year. Then
No. This was COVID.
This was COVID year?
Yeah, because the thing that I remember the most about it was I was across from the bench.
Okay.
When he was wallowing around on the floor. So go ahead. I remember it, Maris.
We were against the Mountaineers that game.
That's right. West Virginia.
I started to say that, but I don't remember losing to them at home.
Remember he went off, storming off.
Okay.
I was at that game because it was Casey's birthday present that I got her.
Happy birthday. Let's go watch
Take
millionaires roll around on the floor.
All right.
What 2 stellar examples of human beings. Chris Beard and Bob Huggins.
And there's a reason Chris Beard loves Bob Huggins so much.
Ding.
From the Yates Flooring Center chat line, have to admit the KU true freshman quarterback looked a lot better than our true freshman quarterback. Based off of what? His offense scored 13 points.
Yeah, he threw, how many picks?
I wouldn't. Just the one. I wouldn't say he he looked a lot better than your true freshman quarterback.
This is something I got to bring up. Do you remember the hot ones with Paul Rudd? Where it's like,
yeah,
the
wing eating thing. Yeah,
who'd have thought?
Look at us.
Okay, yeah. So this account called Pregame Empire, Jimbo Fisher and Zach Arnett after playing each other on Saturday. And
look at us now.
Yeah. Look at us, huh?
That's funny. That is funny.
Just millionaires. Speaking of millionaires, I mean, think about getting $26,000 a day for 8 years to sit.
That's pretty good.
Where on earth and how did this become a thing like this? Like, where on earth do you have, when you're below average and you stink, you just get big checks written to you? It's unbelievable.
It is the only profession I think that it works that way. Actually, no, not the only profession. There's a whole lot of politicians that get big checks written to them and
for being bad
in Washington, and they stink. So, and a lot of them sit on their butt and do nothing too. So yeah, but those are probably the only two head coaches in college or pros, and politicians. Those fit. This from the chat line. Devin Gardner is horrible. Was he on the call, I guess? I thought the same thing on Saturday. It was one guy that kept saying that Tech was getting away with stuff on multiple occasions. He was like, Tech got away with that one.
Yeah,
I was like, dude, shut it.
Yeah. There comes a time for the mute button, and I find myself, and this is, not great because I would hope people don't mute me, but with TV guys lately, it's, I don't know if you've noticed it, but they're hiring 15-year-olds to do play-by-play that have no experience.
There's a lot of, yeah.
You have guys that are older that think they're bigger than the games that they should be doing bigger and better games, so they don't give it their best effort.
Sure.
Tim Brando. You've got him, at the back end of his career, who thinks he should be doing Rose Bowls, and he's doing Oklahoma State and Baylor, or he thinks he's bigger than it. So
absolutely,
there's quite a bit of that going on. And then again, it's like refereeing on Saturdays. When you referee on a Saturday in college basketball, every referee that's going is going.
Yeah.
Okay. And so your better ones are in the Big 10, games. Big 12, ACC, Pac-12, but then they're playing in the Southern Conference. So it gets so spread out. It's kind of going that way with television too, because so many games are on TV.
Yeah. All right.
That and then you got RG3 out there just doing his shtick, and I'm hitting the mute button a lot.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, it is more about quantity than quality, especially for ESPN at this point. Not just ESPN, FS1, all. Yeah, I think you're right. It's spread too thin at this point, and they don't really care. They're just like, hey, you look like you could do this.
Playing time is not required. This is the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Thrilled to be part of your Monday. It is the End of the Bench on 100.7 The Score, 107thescore.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app. Brought to you as always by Happy State Bank. Alongside Geoff Haxton, I'm Chois, Woodman, Lucas White. Across the way, handling us, as well as intern Maris over there taking care of us. Y'all can keep joining us. Whatever thoughts, comments, questions, you got to bring them in on the 8th Flooring Center chat line. We're with you for another hour. Ask the Benchwarmers about 45 minutes out, so if you got any questions, football, basketball, baseball, whatever, bring it all in on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We're going to continue to talk some football. I want to get some thoughts from the basketball arena from Hax here in just a little bit, as well as a couple of comments on the chat line on that as well. Don't forget, you can watch us on TV this hour, Fox 34 News now, or always on our YouTube channel. Go type in Double T Sports Network, and you'll find a live stream of all 4 of our shows running from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. there on the YouTube channel. And as always, on the AM dial, 950 AM, if you would like to to take it in the old-fashioned way, you can do so on the second oldest radio station in Lubbock, Texas, 9:50 a.m. Y'all can keep those thoughts coming. Y'all. I use y'all. Y'all is one of my probably top 10 most used words. It's up there. This from the chat line. Kitley's play calling is still a head-scratcher. Sideline screens that require the most arm strength and timing without utilizing the play action / tight ends over the middle. ? He needs to observe more NFL style instead of high school. Look, the Kitley stuff is fine. Is he perfect? By no means. But this is one of those you don't know what you got till it's gone. Does anybody remember David Yost? You remember that?
I remember David Yost, yes.
A couple of coordinators ago. There were some pretty rough days offensively there.
Pretty rough haircut, too.
And the numbers backed it up for being rough. That was the lowest point you've had offensive numbers-wise post Mike Leach. Really post-2000. Worst your offense has been. And I liked David Yost. I'm not knocking him. It just didn't work out. Didn't fit in Lubbock, and apparently didn't fit at FIU either. He had some struggling days there. But I guarantee you, if Zach Kitley walks away from Texas Tech, his phone's ringing off the hook for coaches that want to hire him. He is still one of the brightest young offensive minds. He makes mistakes. Tim DeRuyter makes mistakes, and he's one of the brightest old offensive or defensive minds in college football. Again, I will sit here and say we've been conditioned to offense in Lubbock, so it's easy. We've been conditioned to offense everywhere because of video games, so it's easy for us to pick and point at the offense and what's not going right. And we're coming off of a 16-13 day where it didn't go great offensively. You had a couple of drives early that looked good, and then largely you couldn't run the football after that. So many people forever have been, run the dang ball, Kitley, run the dang ball. He runs it and runs it and runs it some more on Saturday, and then you're going to gripe about that. Look, there's people that, whether it's agenda or what, I said this earlier to you, Hax, but I can guarantee it. If we sit here after a high-scoring 45-42 game on Saturday where Texas Tech beats UCF, no one's going to zero people.
Do you think
people.
Perception is that much for the Texas Tech fan, just fan in general? The perception is if you score a bunch of points and you give up a bunch of points, that's okay.
Yeah.
If you go 16-13, something's wrong.
Well, it's because it's not as fun of a brand of football. That's what it is.
I like winning.
Personally. I'm with you right there. But it's not as fun for a 16-13 game unless you're in Big Ten country, where you're conditioned to that.
This is weird. This is oddly familiar, and it's probably apples and oranges, but it goes to the game of basketball, and it goes to the University of Oklahoma. Billy Tubbs, when he had it going, they were scoring points like crazy.
Yeah.
And it was run and fun and gun, right? It was them. It was Loyola Marymount. It was UNLV.
Yeah.
They were playing this high octane brand of successful basketball, scoring a cajillion points, winning a ton of games. Well, Billy's time comes to an end. He ends up going back to Lamar. And they bring in Kelvin Sampson. At OU, what did Kelvin Sampson do? And I'm not talking about like extra text
cheating?
Messages.
The cheating?
It's amazing what was cheating then is now like,
oh my gosh,
if you're not doing this, you're not putting your work in, man.
I know, the extra text messages.
Okay, yeah, you got popped for too many text messages.
And
okay?
even like we talk about the Kansas stuff and paying players. Well, that wasn't legal then, but it is legal now. So
it's above board now. You can do this out in the broad daylight now. Besides getting a little mix up with the NCAA.
What did he do?
What did he do at OU?
He had some pretty good teams.
He won a ton of basketball games.
I mean, there was a lot of wins.
Here was the difference. He was winning them with points in the 60s and the 50s and doing it with defense, and it just wasn't exciting and not what Oklahoma fans were used to. So this was my perception that OU wanted Kelvin gone because it wasn't the brand of basketball that they had loved in the 80s and into the 90s, early 90s. So that's a little bit of something that I'm familiar with on a coach-to-coach basis. But the argument that I always made for that was like, all Kelvin does is win. He's right. Still just winning.
Just win, baby.
He went to Final Four with Houston. Got them ranked 7th right now.
Yep.
But they wanted it gone. They were bored of it.
I know. And I honestly think that's how and I include myself in this because I'm a Tech fan. That's how we are. If you have a shootout game, it's like, oh, well. I mean, Hax, it is mind-boggling the Mondays we sat in here during the Mahomes era and people would pick, well, you didn't score on this drive. The Saturdays where you lose a game that you scored 45 or 50 points and people would pick apart, well, yeah, if only the offense scored this one other drive. If only you did that. It's what we do.
I would challenge the critics of Kitley to try and put themselves in his shoes, okay? Drop yourself into his shoes, put the whistle around your neck, and stand there on the sideline and try to devise what's going to work today when you've been down to your third-string quarterback and a guy that himself says he's 60%, and Barron Morton, which that's probably, hey, I mean, are you going to go out there and say, well, I'm about 30%? I bet he's about 30 to 40% with that arm.
Yeah.
If he's going to say 60%. All right.
Probably overselling it.
Yeah. You stand there and try to devise what's going to work with a quarterback that's had all these issues, like just the quarterback position. Yeah. It is not easy.
If you're going to sit here and pick play calling, it is the laziest thing to go after in sports. It's easy. It's the low-hanging fruit. You can do it if you want. Welcome on the chat line. I'm telling you, you're lazy for it. There's a lot of other stuff to talk about, like a freaking win.
Playing time is not required. This is the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score.
It's time for your questions. Bring them in. Ask the Benchwarmers here with the End of the Bench on 100.7 The Score, 107thescore.com, and the 100.7 The Score mobile app. Alongside Geoff Haxton, I'm Chois Woodman. Lucas White back behind the glass, handling us as is intern Maris. Questions for any and all of us are welcome. The lots rolling in on the chat line. El Jefe says, on top of hurt quarterbacks, the wide receiver core is underperforming. I'd say offensive line is very hit or miss, depending on the day. It does come down to performance, too. And, yes, ultimately that does fall on coaching staff, too, because you're responsible for all of it. This real Cajun food comes from south of I-10. Okay. Crawfish meat pie horse name. It's a pretty good one.
There's probably some truth to that with the south of I-10, but if you're an Okie / now West Texan and you get into Louisiana and you're south of Shreveport, the food that they're serving there is going to be Cajun to me, okay?
Yeah.
The po' boys, the etouffee, all the shrimp, all the good stuff. The gumbos, that's going to be Cajun food to me. Go to the French Market Express in Natchitoches, Louisiana, right there on the highway.
Here's my favorite text of the day. I was ahead of my time veteran basketball player. I knew my shot wasn't falling before I stepped on the court, so I just passed the ball the entire game.
Ran out of the tunnel ready to pass.
Yeah, my shot's not falling today, so. No one gripes about defense scheme because everyone's an OC. Individualism element of defense is what makes only a select few understand it. Shelly, here's the questions. Benchies just tuned in, so apologies if redundant. Early thoughts on Toussaint. Just slowly integrating and learning the new team. Perhaps my expectations were too high for him for an early impact.
Yeah.
Well, he's making an impact. He just may not be in the scoring column as much.
He played a ton of minutes.
I actually think, Hax, before you...
I got to go back to the history of Toussaint. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I think his impact was felt greatly because when your offense was as stale as it got yesterday...
He hit the first three.
He did hit the first three, but he was also attacking the basket.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting to the rim and creating for your team. So I think it's pretty obvious he's the veteran on the team. The guy that's been around.
This guy, once things start to click, I expect him to be a scorer. He's not the biggest guy. Let's see, what do they list his height? Toussaint. 6 foot, okay.
Yeah.
But 792 career points coming into this year. Had 321 points at West Virginia. And here's where I think this will be important as we get into the bigger games. He made 122 trips to the free throw line as a reserve last year.
Yeah.
Hit 96 of them. Okay, so he's 78% from the line.
No, that's the brand of West Virginia basketball, too.
Yeah, but he averaged 9.4 off the bench. So I think there's a lot of trying to get in where you fit, right?
Yeah, this is a feeling out process a lot right now.
And I think we'll see some really good things from him.
I agree. Scoring aside, I've been encouraged by what I've seen. The energy is kind of the main thing that I like out of Toussaint. He's good. He's a good defender.
Skips around.
Yeah,
I mean, going to the tunnel, he's got bounce to him, and you could tell he's happy to be here. And
yep.
I know people are banging on the crowd a little bit, and I understand because we've been so used to huge crowds. But I'll tell you what, it got loud in there yesterday.
Yeah, sounded like
Marist. When it needed to, it got loud.
Yeah, towards the end of that game, it was popping in that building.
Yeah.
But something that people, I think, when you watch NBA now and you see these guys averaging 30 points a game, 25 points a game, it's a totally different game than college basketball. Right now, he's had 10 points in the first 2 games. Averaging double digits in college basketball, especially in these conferences, is really hard to do.
Right, and that's a good point. I want to go, that takes me to another one here. So, out of all these transfers, McMillan averaged 10.9 at Grand Canyon. Pop, offensive guy, right, averaged 11.5. Toussaint, 9.4. Warren Washington, 9.2. Devin Cambridge, 9.8. That's backing up Maris's point.
Yeah. Are the 2 technicals a concern yesterday?
I don't know what's going on.
Because Warren Washington
I was
gets
talking
one.
to Clark in the break. I was trying to cycle back through my memory of all the games that I've called here, and there just haven't been many player techs.
No. It was pretty forbidden under Beard. I mean, he would. I don't know.
The most famous one that I can remember on that deal is the first year that he was here, and we were battling with Kansas, and it was close to a tie game, and Anthony Livingston,
yep,
got a tech, and it turned the whole game.
Yeah,
and we wouldn't have won that game anyway. But that's one of the more famous player techs that I can remember.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I don't,
because Washington apparently got one in the Aggie game too, according to the score sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just interesting. There, Cambridge was obviously both of them were talking. They were just talking mess.
Well, they both like to talk.
So,
and I don't know. There's so much I've got to ask Grant.
Yeah,
I mean on Wednesday.
Yeah, and that's where we need to.
On Wednesday, I'm gonna have some real questions for him.
Sure.
Like what the heck happened with a deduction of 2 points?
So that
2 minutes later,
they came and
said it was a clean block.
Apparently that's legal
a new rule
now, which I don't like.
I don't either. You guys made the call. It's 2 minutes later.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the go back and look at the 3.1 line. That's fine.
And they always do this.
Yep, they'll tell you. But apparently on the goaltend, that's something legal now. Is that basket interference? They'll go back and look at it. But I guess you have to have clear rebound after, like a clear fumble recovery in football. because it wouldn't make sense if you get a goaltend and then it ends up in the hands of Texas Tech there. Like, he came down with the ball. So is that the only way you can do that?
I don't know.
Because then you're taking away a possession and you're stopping a possession, and we don't know what happens. It's a weird rule. I don't like it. I want it to go away. Benchwarmers, how do we do in the Bahamas?
No clue.
Yeah. Let's get through this week, and then we'll predict towards that. Benchwarmers, who's next in Aggie land?
Cliff Kingsbury. If Cliff fails up to the Texas A&M job,
That won't happen. Right?
that would be
I mean, it would be.
a story.
Have you seen
beyond
his name
story.
tossed around?
Yeah.
I have too, and it's just weird. I think you're going to see another big name. I do. I don't think Lanning will take it because I've seen Lanning tossed around from Oregon. Why would you leave Oregon at this point? Oregon is a better job than Texas A&M. Sorry, Justin, or any Aggie fans out there. It just is. Based off of history of winning. You can win at Oregon easier than you can at Texas A&M. You may be able to get better recruiting at A&M, but you're going to go up against better competition overall. So I don't know why you would leave Oregon.
Maybe you just don't want to play Oregon and Indiana.
How about Dabo? Is he fed up with the Clemson fans enough that he's going to go?
They would never hire Dabo. That's just like hiring Jimbo.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
That'd be
big time similarities.
very similar. Except Dabo's won more than Jimbo even. Hax, when is the wake for the dragging Charger?
Man, I tell you what, we're getting the runaround from the insurance company.
Of course you are.
I mean, big
Unfortunate.
time.
T-Money says, hope my statement is wrong. 2 games in, looks like it's going to be a long year. If Tech's above 500, it'll be a miracle.
Oh, come on. That's
Above 500 overall?
That's overreaction.
That is way overreaction to one game. Again, that San Jose State team will win 20-plus games this year and will be a potential tournament team.
In the words of Andy Bernard, that was an overreaction.
Ooh, we need that. We need that clip right there.
We can get that cut up.
It's not too hard. There we go. That's it for us. We appreciate all of you on the Yates Flooring Center chat line reaction. It's a good Monday following a lot of wins this past week. Hopefully we can see some continuance of that trend this week. We'll be back with you with a Tuesday edition tomorrow. For Geoff Haxton, Lucas White, intern Maris, I'm Chois. It's been the end of the bench on 100.7 The Score.
This has been the End of the Bench podcast from 100.7 The Score. Go to 107thescore.com for more from the Double T Sports Network.